County homeless encampment being monitored by Sheriff's Office highlights housing issues, leaders say. A homeless encampment behind Publix on Wildwood Drive is drawing attention from St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, shedding light on the growing challenges of homelessness in the area. Tents and backpacks line a path leading into the woods, a makeshift community hidden in plain sight. Judith Dembowski, executive director of St. Augustine Society, Inc., says every person's story is different, but the common thread is clear: a lack of housing. Quote, "Our street outreach team picked up a mom with 3 adolescents living in a storage unit just 3 weeks ago," Dembowski said. Last year alone, the nonprofit helped 250 people transition off the streets, including many from encampments just like this one. Dembowski said young adults are especially impacted. 68 are in their program. 60 of them are working, yet still can't find stable housing. "It's hard to live here. It's hard to afford to live here," she said. The Sheriff's Office Reentry and Outreach Unit is now monitoring the encampment. Sergeant Mike Clark says the goal is to help, not handcuff. Quote, "We go in, we try to connect them and offer options like transitional housing, substance abuse programs, and employment assistance," Clark said. So far, deputies haven't made contact with the individuals in this camp, but outreach efforts will continue. Clark also emphasized the local housing crisis. Even with a job paying $18 an hour, rent in St. Johns County is still out of reach. According to Northeast Florida Realtors, the median home price in the county is now over $500,000, and the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is around $1,400. Homelessness is more than what you see on the street corner, Clark said. It's a much bigger issue. Both law enforcement and local nonprofits say they're committed to addressing the root causes, not just the symptoms of homelessness in St. Johns County. Homelessness is an issue that's close to your heart. You do a lot of work in the unhoused community. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I mean, we've kind of forced them into certain areas, and these camps can camps usually take place on private properties and some of the things. I'm just always really cautious because we don't have a place to, when they've identified the camp now, it makes it not really a safe situation for the homeless. And one of the problems we have with our society is we dehumanize the homeless, or the unhoused, or whatever term you want to use. And we forget there's someone's mom, someone's daughter, someone's brother, someone, and a lot of times there's mental illness involved. And more recently, we've noticed it's less mental illness and more of just can't afford to have a house. And some people are making their life choices to live in the tent for a year to save up to be in a better position. And a lot of the younger homeless or unhoused are choosing that almost as a lifestyle, which is a dangerous way to live in a lot of ways, especially, in some of these camps. There's some schizophrenia. There's a lot of different things that goes on. Judy's with St. Francis House, and they do have a great outreach team. When we do our point in time and we walk into the woods and we do our count and stuff like that, we know we're missing people. But the camps are running out of spaces. They used to be a little more spread out, and it wasn't as easy to find. But now there's less space to be in because of all the development.
Yep.
So no, I like them making the statement. It's help, not handcuffs, because that's the last thing we need. Is to put people already down on the dumps, that lose their house because they got priced out of their house or apartment, and still trying to work. And there's a true working poor out there that people don't really realize. And that's why it's so important to have these drop-in centers that the city's doing and what we're doing at State Road 16, where they can take a shower, they have an address they can have mail sent to, and kind of get back to where they were.
Yeah. So we have a lot of sort of vintage hotels. I just wish that there was a way that we could buy more of these vintage hotels and make them into transitional housing.
It's worked at Veterans Village, but the problem is,
traditional housing.
It's worked at Veterans Village, but the problem is, without the state grant, it would have been unaffordable because the property is still has value. I mean, that's a $2.5 million to $3 million project, and these nonprofits don't have that just sitting around. I mean, and we were very fortunate with Home Again to be able, Ellen and Colonel Dudley were able to get the grant from the state. I happened to have someone who contacted me about selling a hotel. Yeah. And it just all kind of came together. But I agree with you. I mean, there's some hotels that could really help out this problem, but to maintain it costs money. And, in Veterans Village, they still pay. Yeah. They're paying, about half of what you just listed. But they still pay something. Yeah. And some of these guys in the woods are just like, nope, I'm just going to hold on to my money and, until it actually they have enough to kind of get to where they want to be. Yeah. And there's some guys that live out there that just kind of gave up and they got to find their way back. And, that's where that outreach group can really, really help them get back to a good mental, where they're ready to join society again. Yeah.
I mean, there's a local, homeless person that is sort of famous in town. His name's Chris, and or he's known as Chris. I don't believe that's his legal name, but that's what everyone calls him. But that is his choice. He chooses to be on the street. He doesn't. It's not a lack of finances for that person. I've seen family members of his talk on public forums about his situation, and that is his choice. He does have finances, but he chooses a life on the streets as that's that's what he wants to do. And so it's a very complicated issue.
No, we've housed people, and where we house them usually are in low income areas, which has some crime involved and some of those things. And they're just like, I'd rather be out here away from all that. Yeah. It's like, that's not good for me. That's not healthy for me. And we'll house them, and then they'll be like, we can't do it. We're going back on the street.
Yeah. If you're trying to stay clean and trying to get your life together and you're back in a neighborhood where temptation is just
right
everywhere.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hard issue. Definitely a hard issue. Thank you for the work that you do in that area.
Thank you, everybody out there. I couldn't do it without everybody's support. So
100%.
We do live in a great place.
We do. Gas Buddy Gas Report.